WNBA free agency has been a whirlwind, but it seems to be giving us a day to calm down. Most of the big free agents have found homes, but their Chennedy Carter just went from rising WNBA star to league outcast overnight, and it's all because of one reckless move. After shoving Caitlin Clark in a heated game, Carter thought she could just walk away like nothing happened, but guess what? The WNBA isn't having it now. No team wants to touch her, not the Chicago Sky, not the Indiana Fever, not anyone but. Here's where it gets really crazy. Carter isn't just being ignored, she's being erased from the league completely. What exactly happened? Why is every team running from her? And is her career officially over? Let's break it all down. You might remember Chennedy Carter from such shenanigans as flagrantly fouling Caitlin Clark at the beginning of the season. This was not called a flagrant foul at the time, but it was obviously not a basketball play. Apparently, it had something to do with one of the plays beforehand, but the words that came out of her mouth right before what happened kind of made this a little uncalled for. I mean, a little is understated, but it all started with a shove, just one reckless heat of the moment decision that sent Chennedy Carter's entire career spiraling out of control. She was once a promising star, a dynamic scorer who could shake defenders and light up the scoreboard, but now she's being blacklisted, tossed aside like yesterday's news, and the entire WNBA is treating her like a ticking time bomb. Do you have any regrets on how it happened and everything that's happened since that? I don't have any regrets with anything. I'm going to compete and play 100% hard no matter who it is, like I said, or who are playing. No, I don't have any regrets. The Chicago Sky didn't just cut ties with her, they completely erased her from their future plans. No core designation, no long-term contract, nothing. They didn't even try to trade her, which is unheard of for a player with her level of talent. They simply let her walk away, knowing full well that no other team was going to take a risk on her. And let's be clear, this wasn't just about the push. The shove on Caitlin Clark was just the final straw, the tipping point that made teams go enough is enough. Because when you take a closer look at Carter's career, it's not just one mistake, it's a pattern of self-destruction. The Atlanta Dream did suspend her in the middle of the sophomore season, basically saying she was a detriment to the team and the team culture. So then the Atlanta Dream decided to trade her to the Sparks, the Los Angeles Sparks. She ended up playing a lot less minutes there, and the reasoning that the Sparks were saying that she was playing less minutes was because of poor conduct, and that was the 2022 season. Then, in the 2023 season, the Sparks just decided to release her in the off-season. However, none of the teams were willing to pick her up after that, so she ends up going over to Turkey, playing in Turkey, of which she balled out. So then the W team started looking at her again, and being like, maybe we should give this person another chance. So she was signed to the Chicago Sky with Teresa Weatherspoon with Angel Reese. Let's break it all down. The Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever were in a heated matchup. Caitlin Clark, as usual, was putting on a clinic, dropping buckets and running the floor like she owned it. Meanwhile, Carter was getting visibly frustrated. Every missed opportunity, every defensive lapse, every moment where Clark took over the game, it was getting to her. And then out of nowhere, Carter snapped with the ball nowhere near her. She shoved Clark with force, sending her stumbling forward. The entire arena froze. Fans gasped, the players stopped mid-play, even the ref stood still for a second, almost in disbelief at what they had just witnessed. It wasn't just a hard foul, it wasn't an accidental bump, it was intentional, unnecessary, and ugly. Caitlin Clark, to her credit, didn't retaliate. She simply turned and looked at Carter with a mix of confusion and disbelief, like she couldn't believe someone had just done that on a professional stage, and the silence in the arena, it spoke volumes. The refs quickly stepped in, calling it a flagrant foul, but honestly by that point it wasn't just about what the refs saw, it was about what the fans, the coaches, the scouts, and the entire basketball world saw. Carter had just committed a career-altering mistake in front of thousands of people and millions more watching on TV. Originally ruled an away from the ball foul, but it was obviously a flagrant foul. It really upset a lot of people, which really escalated the issue. And it was really just poor sportsmanship on Kennedy's part, to be completely honest, and she really didn't deal with the backlash very well either, really firing on all cylinders on social media. And if you know anything about the WNBA this season, once you start talking like people are going to clap back in. If Carter had immediately owned up to it, things might have been different. Maybe she could have salvaged her reputation, issued an apology, and moved forward, but instead, she did the worst thing possible. She refused to acknowledge it at all. When reporters asked her about the incident, her response was cold, dismissive, and borderline arrogant. No Clark questions. That was all she said. No remorse, no explanation, no attempt to smooth things over. And that's when the real damage started happening. The WNBA didn't take long to act. The shove was officially ruled a flagrant foul, and while she wasn't suspended, the league made it clear that this was unacceptable behavior. But here's where things got even worse. Behind the scenes, teams were watching closely, and what they saw, they didn't like it one bit. Because here's the thing, Caitlin Clark isn't just any player, she's the biggest name in women's basketball right now. She's packing arenas, selling jerseys, and bringing more eyeballs to the WNBA than ever before. So when Carter shoved Clark, she didn't just commit a foul, she shoved the league's biggest investment. That's bad business. That's career suicide, and that's exactly why no team wants her now. If you thought the shove was the only reason Carter is getting iced out of the WNBA, think again. The Chicago Sky made a decision that was louder than any public statement. They let Carter walk away for nothing. They didn't try to trade her. They didn't try to negotiate a smaller contract. They just let her go. And in the WNBA, that doesn't happen. Teams don't just give up on talented players without trying to get something in return. Even if a player is problematic, there's usually some value in a trade. But with Carter, they didn't even bother. That tells you everything you need to know. The Chicago Sky weren't just moving on, they were wiping their hands clean. And when other teams saw that, they got the message loud and clear. If Chicago doesn't want her, why should we? Here's where things get really interesting. It's one thing for an organization to give up on you. It's another when your own teammates start distancing themselves. Angel Reese, who was supposed to be one of Carter's closest allies on the team, straight up unfollowed her on social media. And in today's world, that's basically a public breakup. Rumors started swirling that some players in the Sky locker room were already pushing for Carter to be gone before the season even started. Think about that, she was so toxic, her own teammates wanted her out before she even got a chance to prove herself. And if there's one thing that NBA and WNBA teams hate, locker room drama. Thanks for watching and subscribe my channel.